Hey, welcome everybody. This is John Paul Mendocha Selling. This is Raging Verbalist number 75. 75. Wow, that's like 3/4 of the way to 100 for those of you who know how to count. And you're using, of course, the decimal system. If you're not using the decimal system, for those who are octal out there, well, you have to do your own math. But yeah, this is number 75. And it's going to be an interesting, I think, show today. And as always, let me just tell you quickly what Raging Verbalist is all about before I do that. Shameless thing of saying, hey, if you're on YouTube, a like would be nice. A subscribe would be nice. Get notified. We do these every week. Also, it's on Facebook. Go to Position to Win Book, which is where we're all at. So, and away we go. And with me, as always, is the lovely Sandra. And Sandra will be asking questions as if you were sitting here with me, asking me questions that you may have on the tip of your tongue, inside your head, rattling around, ready to come out. And no, I haven't had any caffeine today. All right, Sandra, welcome.
Hello, hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Okay, so this is one we have to jump right in because this is a it's going to be action packed to say the least. Okay, so Sandra, what are we talking about today?
All right, so you're traveling. So how long has it been since you've traveled on a plane?
So I got off of an airplane on January 10th, 2020, and have not been on a plane since late last week, and I've been traveling since late last week, going through this week and flying home on Saturday. Not Saturday, flying home on Thursday. Saturday now. Anyway, so yeah, it's been a long time since I've been on a plane. And for those of you who don't know me, I have done lots of plane travel. I have at one point in time, I had like 1.4 million points on Southwest. I mean, that means that I would get on a flight and they would deliver my mail to me because I travel so much. And it's been a long time. So yeah, it was kind of odd. I had not been off of a plane in my entire adult life that much. So it has been quite a withdrawal and very strange. So that's what we're going to talk about today is the road warrior is now back out on the road on an airplane because I've driven a bunch. I can tell you that, driven a bunch, but now we're back flying.
All right, so what was it like at the airport?
So I get to the airport and there is like really not many cars, not many people, and obviously fewer flights. And a funny thing happened, which will be embedded throughout this, a little bit of a rant, if you will, is that I was a TSA frequent traveler. I don't know the
pre-check. TSA pre-check.
A pre-check. Okay, so I was a pre-check. So I was, so I was a known entity. They had to do a background check and make sure that I had, all of that stuff. And it expired during COVID, and I kind of ignored it because why would I be paying for that if I'm not going to be able to get on an airplane? So, as those of you who are regular viewers, last week was Liberation Day. So the day after Liberation Day, I got on an airplane. So anyway, that meant I was not in the TSA pre-check line. I was in the peon line. And no, they don't say that, but that's what it is, And that was a lot of fun because I had to take my laptop out, had to take my iPad out, had to take my shoes off, had to do all that stuff. So yeah, and when I got through, place was partially open. So most of the restaurants, most of the stores weren't open. So that's kind of weird because usually restaurants, every store is open for the early flights because you have all these people who are bleary-eyed who will buy just about anything, and nothing was open. So for the most part, but the flight was packed. So that was what the first airport. We will cover multiple airports, but yeah, that was my first encounter, and yes, it did feel different. And they gave a whole little speech about things, which I think we'll get to in just a little bit.
All right, so with that, how was security?
So security is pretty darn tight. I mean, they're checking everybody 22 ways to Sunday. You have to, now we're back to taking off your belt. You're taking off your shoes. I mean, I guess they have more time on their hands. Everything has to go on the on the belt, but it can't go on the belt. It has to go in a tray on the belt. It's like, oh, and and then I ended up having them go through and check it again because I had forgotten the iPad. I mean, I cannot be the first person to have an iPad, but as they said, it was too large, so it should have come out. So yeah, security was kind of kooky, but we'll advance to Denver. Let me talk to you about Denver because I flew to Denver. Oh, I mean, side rant, side piss off is that, Uber has made their peace with the politicos. And that means to take an Uber from Denver International Airport to my first appointment would have been like $130. I mean, I'm not in Paris, folks. I'm in Denver. And people say, well, maybe you ought to go take a cab. Yeah, like the cab said, oh, yeah, Uber's jacked up their price because they're paying money to the city and county and the state and all this other crazy. Remember, Uber was the whole point of it was convenient and less expensive. Yeah, okay, that's going to be great. So, anyway, Denver was just this kind of crazy little, talk about security. Let's talk about security. So, as I said, I let the pre-check thing expire. I renewed it the day before I got on the plane. When I got to Ontario, no dice. Okay, got it. Didn't make it through. In Denver Airport, they have a TSA office. So the helpful woman at Southwest, by the way, shameless plug for Southwest. If you want to give me free flights Southwest, I'm more than happy to keep shilling for you. I like the airline. I mean, I know people get annoyed by it, but I can tell you I've been more annoyed by others who will remain nameless, American, and I am united against some of these other ones that I'm not really pleased with, but I don't have any strong opinions. Anyway, the woman says, "Hey, there's a TSA office right here in the airport." I knew that. But I thought, well, that's pretty cool. So I'll go over to the TSA office and I'll go talk to them. And by talking to them, I'll find out what's happened to my number. So can I get in the TSA line? So I go over there and there's a person talking to somebody in the counter, and the woman behind the counter who is obviously a government employee, because see, government employees, and I know they get lots of training. And for those who are just listening, you won't hear this because there's nothing rattling in my head, but they learn how to just shake their head now. They just go, nope, 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 nope. I mean, they it's just crazy. So anyway, that woman leaves, and I say, hey, look, I renewed my pre-check. What is the story? How come it doesn't show up on my ticket? It's now been a few days. And she says to me, well, sir, when did you renew it? And I said, just a few days ago. She says, well, it takes up to 60 days for that to now percolate, promulgate, squeeze through that little sphincter of government bureaucracy and get there. And I said, wait a second. I couldn't even get close to this without putting in the credit card. And I can tell you, the credit card didn't take 60 days. It didn't take 60 seconds for them to say, money is gone. There you go. Boom. I said, well, wait a second. If it's going to take 60 days and it's a 5-year period of time, really, aren't I only getting 58 months? That would be 60 months minus 2 months. She goes, well, I don't know how. Yeah, she's like, what? Like, she doesn't know how many months are in 5 years. By the way, for those of you out there, this is a math day here at Raging Verbalist. So it's 60 months in 5 years. So I said, really, it's only 58 months. And she goes, nope, it's 5 years. And I said, nope, it can't be, because if I can't use it for 2 months, I'm not getting that. Imagine if Amazon did that to you and they said, oh, hey, we're going to charge you. It's going to be a couple of months, but your 12-month subscription is really, well, it's 12 months, but you didn't get to use it for 2 months. And she just looked at me and goes, sir, I don't know what else to tell you. It is 5 years. And I looked at her and said, that is governmental doublespeak. And she had one of those looks on her face, which I'm sure that they taught her, which is that kind of sour puss, like, ooh. But she knows she's never going to be fired. So anyway, off I went. Now, the cool part about being in Denver, by the way, I was flying to New York because I went from Ontario to Denver, hopscotching around the country. And so the cool thing about that is that Denver, the lines are enormous, or I guess the new word is ginormous. And they have this person barking out orders that if you're not pre-check, you're in the peon line. And unlike Ontario, this thing goes like wraps around and goes into another zip code or something. And then out of the corner of my eye, I see the Clear booth. Clear is a service that you pay for, and again, I didn't think we renewed it. And I walked up and they said, "Oh, are you a Clear person?" And I said, "Boy, I certainly hope so." And I walked over and lo and behold, they let me through. Ta-da! Which was great because the woman who was grumbling as I was grumbling, she was grumbling about her TSA thing, saw me whisk through the line. She had those like dagger eyes at me like, ooh, ooh. So sometimes here's the lesson for all of you, because again, I've been a road warrior for like a long time, is one is none. And that includes being in all these programs and doing all that stuff. You're going to travel, you got to do that. I mean, I have no idea how these people waited, because it had a little sign that said the line, if you were in the peon line in the on the that area for security, it was going to be 45 minutes to get through. Yay. Yay. I'm excited. Anyway, so that was what security was like. So much fun. It wasn't even funny, but there's a little cool story about security. So why not have more fun? Is that when I leave New York, I go through the scanner, I take all this stuff off. I take off my shoes, which I buy the weirdest. I buy those weird Skechers shoes, which I wear. First off, these are not fashion at all. I mean, these make you look like I should be playing shuffleboard or something. And I've got the memory spring foam. And here's what the memory foam does: is you take it off, and the memory foam starts talking to you. Yeah, I remember back when T.J. Hooker was on TV or some crap like that or something. Anyway, so I get all the way through that. I go through the scanner, and the guy goes, "You've been selected to be patted down." Now, I mean, I'm sitting there going, "Do I get to select who can pat me down?" Well, it wasn't that way. And they patted me down, and I'm like, "Okay, I've got everything out of my pockets. I have no belt. I have no shoes that have no metal in them whatsoever at all. And you got to do that. No, we got to do that." So that was my security, Sandra. All I can say for people out there is the government is doing even dumber things, because I mean, I guess they have extra time and they're just burning it up. So yikes. Next question. Not that I've,
Not that you're upset about it or anything.
No, no.
All right. So you've made it through security. What's it like being on the plane during the pandemic?
So I'm thinking that I'm at a train station and I'm now listening, and it's just before World War II, or the advancing army is coming, and the guy is on the overhead, and I'm trying to make a phone call. I mean, I don't want to do all this stuff. And the guy's on there, and he goes, and they, I heard this multiple times. So I mean, it's like, now we just want to tell you that you must wear a mask. You must cover your mouth. You must cover your nose. It does not matter if you've been vaccinated or not. It does not matter about this. It does not matter about that. Oh, and by the way, if you're not wearing the mask, even if you're sleeping, we will wake you up and make you put the mask on. If you're going to drink, take your mask down. Take a sip. Put your mask back on. And they said, and it's federal law. And if you give us a hard time, we're going to tell your dad, but the feds will come in and pick you up and do that. Well, I don't know, folks. I mean, considering that the feds did like nothing during all these riots, but no, don't wear a mask on the plane. Bad stuff is going to happen. So that was pretty cool, because everybody's wearing masks and doing all that stuff. So we had to do that. Oh, and by the way, once you get on the airplane, Southwest went from, moderately decent drink service. I mean, food used to be peanuts. Then the world became peanut allergic. So now we have a snack pack, which essentially is every which way that you can make a pretzel and then spice it differently, and you get a bunch of that, and of course you get like 1 ounce. I mean, I don't even think if you had this much drugs, you wouldn't go to jail. I mean, that's how few pieces that you get. But they walk up to you and they hold up a little sign that's laminated, and it has 1 through 4 for the drinks. And what they ask is that you don't necessarily shout it out because they can't hear you through the mask that you're mandated to wear. So you need to tell them how many. And so what I would do is I would hold up my fingers and they would count them up, and then they would go, and then we were all good, and I knew that I was going to get water. So yeah, so that was a hoot nanny of fun, and the planes were full. I mean, they were just packed, and of course, that's always a good thing. It's a good sign though, because I mean, economically, I'd like to see planes packed. But yes, we were all wearing masks. We're all having to deal with this stuff, and all of that, and of course, since so many of the restaurants were closed, like people didn't like have food that they were bringing. So that was what it was like to be on an airplane during the pandemic, which was kind of weird. Now, apparently, this is better than it used to be. Oh, and hey, since I've been sober for a very long time, this doesn't affect me. But for some people, this was a shock to their system. This was a bad AA meeting or something, because they came on and said, we are serving no alcohol on the plane at all. So you don't have to pay for anything because you only have 4 choices. You got Coke, Diet Coke, 7-Up, and water. That's it. That's it. And then he said, oh, by the way, it is now against federal law that if you sneak booze on the plane and we catch you taking a little nippy poo, we're going to charge you with a federal felony because you can't drink on an airplane right now. Now, I haven't had a drink in a really long time, but you could see that there was some people there who were sweating it out. So let's see. Now, if you want to know what makes people crazy, have the nicotine fit people and the alcohol deprived people there. I mean, what's left? I mean, a little snort ski or something. I mean, come on, But there we go. That was that. So I don't know how I can say it any more fun or graphically, but there you go. We had our fun adventures on the planes.
All right. So besides all of that, how many places did you travel to?
So, typical of a trip for me, because again, I had all of this pent up stuff, is that I went from Ontario, went from home in Southern California. I went to Denver, I went to New York City, and then I went to Dallas, and then came home. So, it's, and each of them was a little bit different. I mean, it's, getting to Texas was really different than New York. I mean, so here's a fun one from New York. I go to a diner. Now, for those of you who've never been to New York City and never been to a diner in New York City, yeah, it looks somewhat like the ones on TV, only the ones on TV sets are always cleaner than the ones that you're going to see inside of New York City. Because you get there and it's just like, they wash the floor, like when Bill Clinton was still in the White House. I mean, that was the last time they really washed it. So I get to this diner and the guy says, the state of New York is doing contact tracing. So if while you're eating here, you catch, somebody here catches the COVID, we're going to call you, but not us. State of New York's going to call you and tell you that you need to go get tested. You need to go this. And I said, I was vaccinated. He goes, it doesn't matter. You can't eat at a diner without putting your name and number down. So I dutifully did that. By the way, that is the first time I have had to sign in to a restaurant, for that purpose. And all the time that I've been doing the pandemic has been going on. Now, again, I understand I haven't been sitting down in restaurants, but that was kind of bizarre. That was kind of weird. Here you go, sign up. So that was kind of funky and neat. And then of course, as I then went back to LaGuardia, which by the way, it's under construction. And Sandra, what did you say about LaGuardia?
It's always under construction. There's always problems.
It has been under construction for decades. I think this is like lifetime employment for some people. And of course, they've got really the model, and I didn't, I'm now saddened that I didn't capture a photo of the model, because the model looks like it's going to be a really cool airport someday. I'm just, now I'm flossing and exercising and eating better every day so I can see LaGuardia get finished before I check out. So that's that. And I can tell you that while traveling, all I could think about is all of you who are out there who are wondering, well, John, how do you pass the time? How do you make the things work? Well, I can tell you right now that what you can do is you can do this. You can do a book. And what better books to read than most businesses fail in their first 5 minutes. It just takes 3 to 5 years to realize it. Available in soft copy from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever books are sold. Also, you can go to positiontowinbook.com, and you can request that I sign it and autograph it and, make an inscription to you. And as long as it's not something really dumb, I will do that. Also, there's remote work for a better world. And clearly by flying on an airplane, I was not doing that. And of course, we got lots of cool stuff at positiontowinbook.com. Check it out. And if you do that, there's lots of things that I think you will learn. All right, now we get back to the next. What is the next one, Sandra? Because we are just working through these on this exciting adventure. I mean, it is not like, Magellan circumnavigating the world, but it was first time in a long time. Okay, so what's the next question?
All right. So what was the most surprising thing that happened on your trip?
I would say the most surprising thing, the thing that really kind of stood out, is how much energy is being put into this whole, we're all going to wear a mask, we're all going to do this, we're all going to do that. And then the discussion about how much stuff was, under federal law, federal fiat, federal this, federal that, seemed very annoying to me. And then the fact that, when you tell people that many instructions and that much stuff, is that after a while they just start blanking out on it. And I was sitting next to a woman who her mask dropped below her nostril level, and the flight attendant walked over and said, "Ma'am, you're going to need to pull your mask up." Now, it's not quite as much as having the skinny hip hugger jeans and saying you got to pick it up because where we're seeing a little key slot or something, but you gotta put up the mask, So that was the most surprising thing. And then also how, in some ways, it just seems like the airport is not, none of the airports seemed organized as I thought they would be, having gone through a year of preparation. I don't know what's going to happen when, all hell breaks loose and people actually really travel, like when you get more and more people vaccinated. And then at some point in time, you're going to see, now this isn't quite, a major protest, but I think you're going to see people who are vaccinated, like myself, who will say, look, I can't get it, I can't give it, and I'm taking off my mask. And we'll see what they're going to do. Who knows? Maybe they'll have to, round us up and put us in, mask prison or something. But I see a time where that's going to happen and people are just going to get annoyed about it. All right, what's the next one?
All right. What would you tell people about travel today and what they should know?
Well, you're going to need lots of patience. And I'm not a very patient person, but you're going to need lots of patience because there's a lot of delays and slowdowns and everything is taking longer. And you're going to see a lot of that. And that's just kind of to be expected. The other thing is that I think that once you feel comfortable, like I did after I got my vaccination, is that, I just said, okay, I'm going to go for it. I think that the interesting part about it is that the people who are traveling that I saw on my trip were really business people, whereas before the pandemic, you saw a lot of families. You saw a lot of people who are traveling for fun. Mostly these were people who were going because of their job and they're doing stuff for their job. In fact, I sat next to a guy in the first leg of the journey, who was going to, of all places, Omaha to go work on something, and he was commuting by plane. So saw more of that. So what I would say is make sure that you're ready. Understand that security is going to be kooky. Make sure you bring something to gnaw on. I mean, jerky or a protein bar or whatever, Snickers bar or something, because you don't know what you're going to be able to get. The amount of, also in the stores that were open, the selection was much less than it was before. I would know, traveled a lot. So just keep all of that in mind. And so that's what I would tell people if they're going to travel.
All right. So now that you've traveled, are you going to change? Will this change anything? Will you travel more?
Well, I think I'm going to have to get my mind set and figure it out. So I went through a traumatic thing after 9/11. First off, I traveled on 9/11. I flew to Phoenix and then ended up driving home. And then I traveled the week after 9/11. And before 9/11, I could easily go out and do all kinds of things it was just so easy to travel before 9/11. We still complained, we still bitched and moaned, we still did all that stuff. Didn't know how good we had it, right? It's don't know what you got till it's gone. Joni Mitchell's kind of song. And, I used to be able to get dropped off at the airport and, with no time, race through there, catch a flight to Phoenix, do a day trip and come back. I used to be able to do 1-day trips to Seattle. That all went away after 9/11 and has never come back. And this is much slower than that. So what I have to do is kind of gear it down again and just kind of accept that we're going to have a lot of time wasted in the system. So, bring things that you need to make you, keep you organized or occupied and organized in some of those things. And of course, we have something to show you right now that you might want to think about bringing. So I always like to travel with some, some little dinosaurs and, have little mock fights and do my own Jurassic Park. I mean, it always entertains those around the concourse, but, sometimes you just got to do something to keep yourself sane. And I think you need to do that. The key thing about it is that if in fact we are going to get back to whatever we want to call as normal, and this is going to be the way things are going to be, is that you just need to know that a few simple things. Number one, every single airport is going to have different rules. Even though they claim that they're all federally driven, federal standards, they're going to have different rules. And I know that what I want to say, I want to scream it out loud. I want to have a megaphone and say, all right, this is just arbitrary bullshit because it is not well thought out and consistent. So number one is everybody's going to have different rules. So you might as well get over it. Number two is that the TSA people are less happy than they were before. I don't know why. I mean, first off, they're government employees. Second, they're union. And third, none of them probably lost much money at all, unlike people like myself in business where, we saw sales go through the floor in some businesses. So, TSA people, if you're listening, maybe a little smile or two. I mean, hey, if we all quit traveling, what would you do? Well, I know the government would pay you forever. The next thing that I would say is that I'm going to develop a strategy so I can make sure that every single time I go, it's consistent and it works for me. And finally, is that don't take life so seriously because it's the only one you got. If you do that, you're going to travel, you're going to get things done. Because what happened is that I was able to get to Dallas, and Gabe and I were able to work on some projects in a way that we haven't been able to do for a long time. Last time I saw him was March of 2020 when we were developing the book launch, and then wrote Remote Work for a Better World in 17 days. And all I can tell you is that we got a lot done in a short period of time. And that would not be possible, even though I'm the guy who talks about, we wrote a book about remote work. Sometimes being in the same room, the same place, same time means a lot. And all I can say is if your business requires that, maybe it's time to get out of the lazy boy and quit thinking about it and figure it out, well, where would it be most beneficial to travel? And with that, I want to thank Sandra for coming on and being, of course, the ask her the questions, the keeper of the flame. You can always get to us through the Facebook page, and Sandra will look at whatever you're going to send, and we'll hopefully look at those as potential topics. But all I can tell you is that you should travel safe, travel fun, and most importantly, not take this stuff too seriously. And in the end, never, ever, ever let the bastards get you down. I'm John Paul Mendoza, Dr. Speed Selling. This has been the Raging Verbalist number 75. And until next week, rage on.